Welcome indeed to New York City, to Radio City Music Hall, where tonight we find out where Johnny Manziel will be playing his football in the National Football League, unless you believe any of those mock drafts out there that he's going to fall all the way out of the first round. Where is Jadeveon Clowney going to go? Is that the first name we're going to hear from Radio City Music Hall from the podium tonight? Pleased to be with you here on NFL Network's live coverage of the 2014 NFL Draft.
This Houston pick is really going to be intriguing. If it is Clowney, like we all expect it to be, I think Greg Robinson goes number 2, and then the real intrigue starts at 3 with Jacksonville. Remember, their GM is David Caldwell. He used to work with Thomas Dimitroff in Atlanta. And we all know Atlanta either wants an edge rusher or an offensive tackle. So the first intrigue will either be if Houston goes Khalil Mack, first of all, or at number 3 and 4.
Well, if they go Khalil Mack, that would be a major surprise. Would it not, gentlemen?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That would be.
No doubt.
It is expected to be Jadeveon Clowney.
The 2014 NFL Draft is officially open. The Houston Texans are now on the clock.
And there you have it. There is the war room of the Houston Texans.
But they're letting this clock go just in case somebody decides to make this offer a little bit more rich.
With the first pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Jadeveon Clowney, defensive end, South Carolina.
So the tears are flowing.
I don't have a problem with him being the number 1 pick, Mike, because when you look at him on tape, you see those spots and those flashes that you talk about, and you understand why he's so special. And he's a rare talent, and the only thing you got to do is look at his measurables. You don't find a young man that big, that fast, that strong.
When you talk about explosive off the edge, he's got length, he's got first step quickness, and he has explosion. He loves the inside swim, both in the run game and the pass. In the NFL, he's going to have to learn not to use that all the time. But here's the one thing that bothers me. He didn't have a very good game against Clemson. And when he got blocked by Brandon Thomas, he stayed blocked. So the criticism on this young man is that he flashes explosion every game, but he doesn't do it enough.
Go ahead and select somebody to protect Sam Bradford, somebody to help Sam Bradford out in terms of a weapon, or do they choose somebody to replace Sam Bradford with this pick?
The beauty is, when you listen to Jeff Fisher, he said not 1 or 2, 6 to 8 guys fit their pick. And it has to be something RG3-ish to get them out of that pick. And I don't believe anyone is going to give that up. So I'm going to say this. If you play in the NFC West, it's one thing you must do. You must win the line of scrimmage on offense and win the line of scrimmage on defense. And if you watch last year, at times, they struggled on offense to win the line of scrimmage. Greg Robinson would fit here when you think about what they did with Sappho, paying him, kicking him inside. If Jake Long can be healthy enough to where he can come back and start week 1 for them, you put Greg at right, Jake Long at left.
With the second pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the St. Louis Rams select Greg Robinson, tackle, Auburn.
6'5", 332 pounds.
Walking that walk saying, boy, this is the reality right now.
Hey, Marshall, take a look at him, okay? First tape I put in, Orlando Pace. That's the first guy I thought about.
The pick is in. Mike Mayock, your thoughts?
Look, I've been all over the Khalil Mack pick here. I was in their building for 12 hours last week watching tape with their coaches. I know them pretty well. If it's not Mack, think about a quarterback whose name is not Johnny Manziel. Okay, and I don't know this for a fact, but I know how they think, and he fits their profile. So if it's not Mack, don't be shocked if Blake Bortles goes right here.
Well, why he would be staying in the state of Florida. All right, a little bit of intrigue for the Jacksonville Jaguars fans out there.
Oh, this place is rough.
With the third pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Blake Bortles, quarterback, Central Florida.
Well, there you have it. The first quarterback in this draft selected is not Johnny Manziel.
And I could hear Gus going, and Dave, we've made up our mind, it's gonna be Johnny Manziel. And they had big pictures of him up all over the wall, but it was Blake Bortles the whole time.
The Buffalo Bills have just struck a trade for the number 4 overall pick with the Cleveland Browns. As you saw the Jacksonville War Room clapping for their pick. So that mandates us to sort of stop our discussion about Blake Bortles and turn to you, Mike Mayock, and say, who do you think the Buffalo Bills would be hopping up 5 spots to go take? Could this be Khalil Mack going to Buffalo?
If it's not Khalil Mack, I think it's going to be the tackle, Jake Matthews. They've got a heavy need at right tackle. It makes sense. They've got a young quarterback they have to protect. So for me, I think it's got to be offense. They're pretty good on defense, and that young quarterback needs to be protected. So it's either the wide receiver, Sammy Watkins, or it's the tackle, Jake Matthews.
Got a first rounder in next year's draft, which means it'll be 2 straight years in a row for them with 2 first-round picks, and a 4th rounder, and then next year's draft as well. Here's Commissioner Goodell.
The Cleveland Browns have traded the 4th pick to the Buffalo Bills. With the 4th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Sammy Watkins, wide receiver, Clemson.
Well, that's what Michael Irvin and I just talked about. You've got a young quarterback in E.J. Manuel. First-round pick a year ago, very talented kid. So now what do they want to do? They want to surround him with a weapon.
If we can't stop you, we're going to try to outscore you.
Yep.
And that's what they're taking that approach. Remember playing a New England
Remember last year they took Robert Woods in the 2nd round at wide receiver. They've got Stevie Johnson. So they're surrounding that young man with a ton of weapons. Play, I think, personifies the kid. Separation on the slant. Now watch him turn and run over the safety, and with that 4.4 speed, he runs away from everybody. Bubble screen, again, run after the catch. Look at the explosion, the acceleration. He gets north, he gets south. And look at this, against press, he uses his hands. There aren't many wide receivers, Michael Irvin, that can use their hands, widen the corner to give the quarterback a throwing lane, and then run like that with the football. He's special.
He is special, man, and you can see right there. We know how difficult most guys have when they come in this league and getting off that press. That hand-eye movement right there, that looks great. And here's the comparison for me. And we talk comparison, and we say, oh, we look at speed, we look at height, we look at size. I look at style of play. You just saw these tapes, and watch this tape. This is a powerful playing wide receiver. Very aggressive, very strong at the point of the catch. And this is exactly what Dez Bryant is. Very strong at the point of a catch, run through tackles.
What the Raiders planned to do was take Khalil Mack if he was there, or receiver Mike Evans if he was there. They wanted a big play receiver or a big play defender. Now both are there. DJ, what do they do? What do they need?
Everybody just expected Khalil Mack to be gone. It was going to be Mike Evans. Now they have a tough decision to make, and people around the league said the ultimate wild card was Derek Carr, quarterback, but that'd be a trade back scenario, Rich.
Well, Mack or Evans is there, and you know the Falcons are rooting for Mike Evans to wear silver and black right now. With the Falcons sitting there at 6 overall, and the idea that Mack could drop to them, they wouldn't have to trade up to get him.
With the 5th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Oakland Raiders select Khalil Mack, linebacker, Buffalo.
On first down, he's a Sam linebacker, just like Von Miller. They get in the sub package, he comes off the edge, he plays with intensity, he plays with energy, and I think he's going to be an all-pro, Mooch.
I do too, and you know, Reggie McKenzie has had a very busy offseason, signing free agent acquisitions left and right, and now you add arguably the best or second best defensive player in this draft.
This is him against Ohio State. He starts speed, converts it to power, gets up underneath the pad of the right tackle from Ohio State, jacks him back into the quarterback, and makes a play. Again, against Ohio State. Watch him dip. That's a natural ability to bend and then run the arc to the quarterback with tremendous closing speed. At the combine, he ran 4.65. Trust me, folks, this kid plays fast. Yeah, it worked out perfectly for the Atlanta Falcons. And by the way, it gets interesting at number 7 because if Atlanta, as I suspect, will take Jake Matthews at number 6, then sitting at 7 is Lovie Smith. Mike Evans is there. There's a rumor circulating it could be Aaron Donald, the defensive tackle from Pittsburgh, who would then fit in with Gerald McCoy, and they reenact the old Tampa Bay 2. So this board sets up tremendously well because of Bortles going at 3. Now everybody's getting one pick closer to who they want.
And none of the names that you've mentioned are named Manziel. That would put the Vikings, a quarterback-needy team, on the clock there at 8 for Johnny Manziel.
Here we
and
go.
you said that if he gets past 8, then look out below and Jerry Jones.
You're right. To be fair, there's been a lot of Tampa Bay Manziel mania also.
There sure has.
I haven't bought into it, but it's out there. So,
with the 6th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Jake Matthews, tackle, Texas A&M.
Mike, this guy here, we did our mock draft. What, 5 tackles went in the first round, and he was the second one. And I mean, you know what you're getting.
It's the other royal family in the National Football League. You get the Mannings and the Matthews, right?
It's unbelievable. This kid is special. He's a technician. Let's take a look now. Just his pass pro is so simple. He's a natural bender. Look at that. He shoots his hands inside all the time. He's not a grabber. He's got tremendous technique. Watch him in the run game now. Take him, hip snap, out of the hole. Watch the hip snap. Run him out of the hole. Easy cut. There's an embarrassment of riches of picks for them right now.
Yeah, Mike Evans was one of those players that we've been pegging to number 7, and he's available, and same with Johnny Manziel.
With the 7th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Mike Evans, wide receiver, Texas A&M.
So Mike Evans out of Texas A&M is going to join Vincent Jackson. Wow. And the aerial attack, formerly of Texas A&M, his former coach Kevin Sumlin, and then Johnny Manziel, who's still back in the room.
Quarterback.
As he's coming out still wiping the tears from his eyes, Mike.
You know, and he's what today's NFL wide receiver is all about with the advent of the back shoulder fade.
When you have that mentor sitting in a room with the guy to teach him how to work, because that's the hardest part about coming to the NFL. That everyday grind of working, how to get better, how to study film. Mike Evans will learn that from Vincent Jackson, a guy who I watched in San Diego grow and mature as a big play wide receiver. Now he's going to get to show that and pass that down to a guy like Mike Evans.
Well, that's back-to-back A&M picks, and we have to wonder if we're going to see back-to-back A&M picks. So all the Browns did was flip a 5th-round pick in this year's draft, 145th overall, to go up from 9, where they moved into earlier this hour.
Oh, boy, it might be a tackle. It might be the last tackle who they didn't expect to be here, Taylor Lewan. I'm having trouble thinking they're going to go Johnny Football here, but if they do, boy, it'd be fun. This whole place is going to go nuts.
The Minnesota Vikings have traded the 8th pick to the Cleveland Browns. With the 8th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Justin Gilbert, defensive back, Oklahoma State.
The first defensive back of the draft goes, while Manziel still sits in the green room. Justin Gilbert was the apple of the eye of Mike Pettin and Ray Farmer and crew in Cleveland, and going to battle in the AFC North with Gilbert and Hayden and the rest of the very young defensive crew that's getting better and better every year, Mike.
Yeah, I like this guy. 2-time All-American. He's long. We just saw the guy getting drafted in front of him, Mike Evans, the tall receivers. Well, this guy plays tall.
He's long at 6 feet. He's going to run the route for Marquise Lee. He's going to undercut it, And when he gets a ball in his hands, he's gone. Tremendous ball skills. He can play press, he can play off. Here he is, little bail technique. Watch him run the route for the receiver. He's going to get hip to hip, wall him off, and catch the football. That is rare. I think it's a defensive pick. They were 32 or last in the league in points allowed a year ago. Mike Zimmer walks in, and I have a ton of respect for this man. If they don't take a corner like a Darqueze Dennard, I think it's going to be the edge rusher, Anthony Barr. Think about who they have on the edge. They just paid Everson Griffin a lot of money to be a defensive end. Brian Robinson, who's a good, tough player, but doesn't scare anybody off the edge. They need somebody honking off that edge. That makes your defense better. So I think Anthony Barr or their second corner, whoever that may be, probably Dennard. Barr or Dennard.
Thought maybe this would be the place they wanted to Blake Bortles, but that guy's long gone now. The other guy I'm thinking about is maybe C.J. Mosley, an inside linebacker there, because Mike Zimmer, he wants to build that thing.
With the 9th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Anthony Barr, linebacker, UCLA.
Well, that's what I thought. Edge rusher, almost 6'5", 255. He's only been a defensive end for 2 years. Was a converted running back, explosive. And he has no idea what he's doing. It's just natural ability and ability to dip and go, strips the football. Watch him dip again. It's all speed, it's all natural ability. When he learns how to use his hands, when he learns a counter move, he's best in the run game when he chases from behind. Point of attack, he's not great. He's got to get stronger. He's got to learn some counter moves.
We have a special guest to announce the Detroit Lions selection. Please welcome one of the greatest players in NFL history, Hall of Fame running back, Barry Sanders.
Thank you. Thanks again, fans, for voting me on the cover of Madden NFL 25 last year. This year, fans will vote one of these stars on the cover of Madden NFL 15. For more info, go to maddencover.com. Fans, you're on the clock. It is now my pleasure to announce that with the 10th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Eric Ebron, tight end, North Carolina.
There he is, Eric Ebron, next to his fiancée as of today.
People ask me to compare him to Vernon Davis, okay? He's not as quick or twitchy as Vernon Davis, but he's a better athlete with better hands. So he's a little different type of tight end than Vernon Davis, but trust me, everything this kid does is easy.
Matthew Stafford's career with guys like this.
4.5 minutes to go until the Tennessee Titans choose 11th overall. Is there a spot for Johnny on that board? Michael, is there a spot for Johnny?
We talked about him ad nauseum getting out of the top 8, didn't we? And it's finally happened.
It's top 10 now.
Now we're into number 11, which is the first pressure point that we talked about for quarterbacks. Tennessee. Remember, Ken Wisenhunt, offensive guy, inherits Jake Locker with a ton of durability issues. So Johnny Manziel could be a possibility here. I also think a corner could be a possibility here. Whoever the second-rated corner on their board is.
That guttural cheer you heard in the background was the announcement that the Giants are on the clock.
With the 11th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Taylor Lewan, tackle, Michigan.
Well,
that's another piece of the offensive line there in Tennessee. As you know, they went Warmack last year in the first round.
And they signed Michael Orr in free agency to play right tackle. Let's talk about Taylor Lewan. 6'7", 309. He was the best athlete as far as tackles testing at the combine. And you can see it in his pass sets. Very easy kick slide. Occasionally gets top heavy. But where he's got to get a little better is in power. I love the down block here. You're going to see him just crush the inside player. Pressure points for Johnny Touchdowner, 13 with St. Louis, 16 with Dallas. Giants are about to make their selection. I think it's either going to be the tackle, Zach Martin, or whoever their number 3 wideout is, either Beckham or Cooks.
Because they need to protect Eli, who got hammered last year.
They've got to protect them, and they need some weapons outside for sure.
Yeah, certainly with Hakeem Nicks no longer.
With the 12th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Odell Beckham, wide receiver, LSU.
There is Odell Beckham Jr. Tears in his eyes coming out. There's some more envy from Jet fans.
But I also think, Michael, he's one of the best route runners in this draft.
And that's the key. This kid knows how to run routes. We have the speed guys, wide receiver, route runner that I love to compare to another pure wide receiver route runner, and that is Reggie Wayne from the U. You see that body control, backhand catching the ball. He's able to widen that catch radius that you're talking about, Mike, because of his physical ability. Now, and you know this guy right here, Reggie Wayne, does the same thing. I love both styles on the football field, and both of these guys love the game of football.
And Michael, I'm going to show you the route running we're talking about, okay? Watch him on the double move here, set up the defensive back, take him in, be patient, now stick it and go. And now you stack them. You see that move at the end?
Yep.
And then the body control, as you talked about, on the back shoulder.
Perfect, Mike. I got a chance to work out with this guy when I worked out and worked with the Washington Redskins. He was at the camp, worked out with the RG3 and those guys, got a chance to talk to him. Look at him going up and
now
get that
watch
ball.
him against press. See if he uses his hands. A little swim, stack them, and now break inside, and there's that hand catch you talked about again.
Well, Rich, one thing that the Rams were hoping for was that they would be able to select Aaron Donald, but the only thing was they would seriously consider Johnny Manziel if he was there too. DJ?
Yeah, early on in the process, about maybe a couple weeks ago, I heard the dream scenario was for them to go offensive tackle early, get Greg Robinson, and then Manziel would come and play at pick number 13. But I don't know they envisioned a guy like Aaron Donald still being on the board, Rich.
No, you're right, DJ. And of course, Johnny Manziel is still on the board. I've been talking to people in the Cowboys draft room. They fully expect Manziel will be there when they draft. What I was told all the way through is that they would not take him. They would field offers for a trade. But what happens, Rich, when Jerry Jones gets the chance to take Johnny football? What do?
Pre-draft for the Dallas Cowboys. I got to take a little less talent, and I want more competitive spirit and competitive men on that football team. And I don't see anyone more competitive in this draft than Johnny Manziel.
Did Jerry pass on Randy Moss?
Yes.
Trying to remember.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Yes, he did.
You're going way back, aren't you?
I subscribe to competition as well, but we always talk quarterback may be the one position that you have somebody sitting behind you. Boy, it could really push you in a way that you're not comfortable. I've only seen two guys really handle that. Joe Montana handled it well, and Brett Favre handled it well, having guys behind him and continuing to play well, making Pro Bowl.
Not having guys behind you says you have a sense of security, but the way things have gone for Tony Romo and the way that we all talk on this desk, there's possibly no security there. He understands that he has to compete and play.
Well, here's the commissioner, also with some guests to make this pick.
I am joined by Sean Coleman and his mother, Takeshia, to announce the next pick. Sean overcame leukemia with the help of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. He now plays football at Auburn University. Sean.
With the 13th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the St. Louis Rams select Aaron Donald, defensive tackle, Pittsburgh.
So the stout defensive line in St. Louis gets even more so. Aaron Donald added to that mix in St. Louis.
Disruptive, one gap, three technique. Lack of length concerns some teams, but not me. He did everything you're supposed to do, especially at the Senior Bowl. Here he is against Cyril Richardson from Baylor. Way too quick. Watch the hand usage there. You got to be kidding me, Kadeem Martin. One-on-one versus Brandon Linden. There goes a bull move. You've now seen three different moves, and against Syracuse. Watch him just gain leverage, push the pocket. The kid's got strength. He's as quick a defensive tackle as I've seen since Geno Atkins. The only issue is sometimes when he does get blocked, the lack of length helps him. He can't get off, he stays blocked, but I love the kid, and I think the guy you compare him to is Geno Atkins.
Let's talk Bears right now, Michael. What do you have for me?
They were awful on defense on all 3 levels. I think the back end has got to be improved. I think it's either got to be Calvin Pryor, the safety, or the corner run needs to start soon. Remember, Mike Tomlin loves Virginia Tech players. Kyle Fuller, he's still there. He's my top-ranked corner. So on this pick, remember, Tim Jennings is 30. On the other edge, Charles Timmons is 33. So I think it's either got to be Pryor or whoever their top-ranked corner is.
Young corner.
Well, here is the commissioner of the National Football League, who this week said the draft could be moving to Chicago in the near future with this pick in Radio City for Chicago.
As long as it's in April, I don't care where it is.
With the 14th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Kyle Fuller, defensive back, Virginia Tech.
Watch him off. In the slot this time. Turn and run, flips his hips. Now go play the football. Great job by Fuller. On the slot again. This time against Amari Cooper in Alabama. Undercut the route, makes the play. Inside technique and off man. Watch him get his eyes back and find the football. Really good feet. Picks off Alabama. I thought that Alabama game was an outstanding effort by that young man. And finally, run support. He reminds me of Brandon Flowers when he came out of Virginia Tech. Boundary corner, tough as nails.
Steelers are on the clock now, and actually they're off the clock. The Cowboys are on the clock. Let's hear who the Steelers pick is.
With the 15th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Ryan Shazier, linebacker, Ohio State.
Wow. This kid has come a long way this year. At 237 pounds, he ran a 4.38. And when you watch this kid play, he's all about what today's linebacker is. He's one of the fastest linebackers I've ever seen come out of college football. Watch him blitz off the edge. It's going to be interesting to see how he's used in Pittsburgh. I see him as an inside linebacker. Look at him. Watch the run. Watch him close the gap. Bang. And again, here he is at his pro day at 237. He ran 4.38. He can play inside or outside.
That's a big old
He pulled his hammy right there. Woo. I think what's going to happen, Mike, is did you see that look? Did you see that kid? Right?
That boy. Yeah.
He put
see
together.
what he looks like out there,
He can
man?
play football. There's no doubt about that. As Dick LeBeau has now another young player to plug in that defense, and the Dallas Cowboys have less than 4 minutes to go, and sure enough, Johnny Football is there for the taking for Jerry Jones.
There is nobody on that defense that scares you. Nobody. DeMarcus Ware's gone. Sean Lee, who's a really good linebacker, has had some injury issues. They got to get better on defense. However, this is the it player of the whole draft, and this is the it owner in the NFL.
Owning the it team. Go ahead, Mike. You know what, Mike?
If they take Johnny Manziel right now, this place is going to explode. And so will Rod Marinelli, the defensive coordinator.
Look at Aaron Rodgers' tweet. Look at Aaron Rodgers' tweet. This should be an interesting 10 minutes. He tweeted out.
Last year, Jerry went out on a limb and took a player, and they played him.
And he played well.
And he helped.
Yep.
They went draft specific. And we know Jerry liked those hood ornaments. We know that. The question is right now, boy, how's the road?
It is, and the question is,
Ferrari over there. How do you pass that one up?
You take a Johnny Manziel and you got this high-profile player sitting on the bench rather than drafting a starter right now. And then if you play him, you got a $100 million quarterback sitting on the bench. And so, yes, it's going to be excitement, but boy, they need help on defense, people.
Yeah, and you know what? When we could talk about it, Mark, you mentioned it earlier about the pressure that is on Tony Romo. Tony Romo has played, and I said this, well with a lot of pressure. We don't give him all the credit, and every time when there's an interception, we put it on Tony Romo. Well, so if this does happen, I think he can perform with Johnny Manziel sitting on that bench.
Well,
he understands that.
Stephen Jones has just got on the phone. There's the scene.
Is that the Metroplex?
At the draft party in Arlington, Texas.
The safeties can play, okay, and they're going to help. But at the end of the day, Philadelphia is the best team in that division. One defensive player isn't going to change that. I say you can put together a Manziel package, get him on the field this year, change the tenor of that entire franchise, and let's see how the back of Tony Romo withstands the punishment this year. And if this young man plays well, then he's the quarterback.
And it's style on style, even if he comes in for Tony.
Yeah.
It's style on style. It's not like we're going from a big pocket passer to a guy that runs around. So the offense that you're incorporating that works with Tony's style will work with his style if that's the case.
Yeah, here we go.
With the 16th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Zach Martin, guard, Notre Dame.
So instead of bringing in somebody that could potentially supplant Tony Romo, they bring in somebody to make sure nobody plants Tony Romo. Zach Martin is the choice, Mike Mayock.
They went from one of the wild cards of the draft to maybe the safest pick in the draft. Zach Martin started 53 consecutive games at Notre Dame. I contend that he is the only player in this draft that could start at all 5 positions in the offensive line and play them at a high level. I think he lost once to Aaron Donald. Look at him take Michael Sam, run him into the ground. Here's, I believe, Aaron Donald. Is this the one? Yeah. There's that short arm we talk about. Donald gets underneath him, gains an edge. That's the only time I saw the kid lose in 2013.
Natural guard.
Guard or center, Mark.
Natural guard.
3 of the last 4 first-round draft choices by the Dallas Cowboys, offensive linemen.
Johnny Manziel. The Arizona Cardinals long been thought to be looking at a quarterback in this draft. Carson Palmer getting up there in age, but we were talking about Derek Carr, maybe even a Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles, he's long gone. Carr's still there, but Johnny Manziel, I don't know, they've had a deep discussion about Manziel, thinking he would be there. After him, you look at the Cleveland Browns at pick number 26. That's a nice value for him.
That's right, Rich. And one team that's done a lot of homework on quarterbacks, the New York Jets. Rich, take it away. We understand the pick is coming in.
The pick is in for the Ravens as the Jets are now on the clock. That was what the cheer was there. Boy, Ozzie Newsome's got his pick of Alabama Crimson Tide defensive players, does he not, Mike Mayock?
Yeah, he really does, and I think the guy that fits him best is C.J. Mosley. You talk about a guy that played inside linebacker in a 3-4, which is what they would ask him to do with the Ravens. So if Ozzie Newsome, Eric DeCosta, and John Harbaugh don't move down, I think the pick will be Mosley.
With the 17th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select C.J. Mosley, linebacker, Alabama.
Boy, he's such a solid football player. Speed, recognition. Look at him shoot the gap, beat the guard and the fullback. He pursues sideline to sideline. He improved in getting off blocks this year. That was the knock on him a year ago. Gets rid of that 8th spot, makes the tackle. Again, watch him get off the block, bury the running back.
Which wide receiver do you think would be the best fit if the Jets went in that route?
Well, they got the big wide receiver in free agency, Decker. I think Cooks, who ran 4.33, I think he's a natural complement. And Michael, when we talk about wide receivers that run routes, remember we talked about backup Marquise Lee. I think this is the 3rd guy that's a tremendous route runner coming out of college football.
Marcus Lee is a great route runner, and you're right about Cook. Such speed, fastest guy, fastest receiver in this draft. You got Stephen Hill a couple years ago also.
Triggering in the back of my mind, which is the Manziel landing spot. Not to take away from the Jets, but do you think Chip Kelly and the Eagles are having a huge discussion in their war room right now?
Wow.
As Johnny Manziel continues to tumble? Really interesting.
Is that what you're thinking? The Eagles are sitting at 22.
1 minute remaining.
Is that what you're thinking?
I'm looking for the next logical spot. He recruited him out of high school. He said he fitted, and I'm not trying to change the conversation. I'm just throwing that in there. I do believe that Cooks has to be the guy for the Jets.
45 seconds to go until we get this. Jets have 12 draft choices.
With the 18th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Calvin Pryor, defensive back, Louisville.
And there you have it. That is really an interesting pick. To me, if you remember Bob Sanders in his prime in Indianapolis, this guy is a bigger Bob Sanders.
Mike Mayock, your thoughts on who the Dolphins? I mean, the Dolphins need an offensive line. Let's be honest here.
I think it's got to be a lineman, Quanjo, or maybe even Xavier Suafia from UCLA.
Let's hear what the name on the draft card from the commissioner himself. He's walking to the stage right now. The Miami Dolphins, 19th overall in this draft. We're heading into the 20s after this pick.
With the 19th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Jawan James, tackle, Tennessee.
Jawan James, they went offensive line, but they went Jawan James, 6'6", 311 pounds. The more tape I watched of this kid, the more I liked him. He started out in a lot of people's minds as a 3rd or 4th round pick, became a solid 2nd round consideration, and obviously Miami likes him better than Quanjo or Suafia.
So as Jawan James goes off the board from Tennessee, the New Orleans Saints have just hopped up from number 27 to take this selection, 20th overall. Now,
Saints.
No, I'm just throwing some names out there. I mean, Brandon Cooks would be a name out there. Obviously, the Saints wouldn't mind adding a little bit of firepower to the offense with Lance Moore gone and the offense with Drew Brees needing. What do you think your old position coach
I think you made that
right
pick in the mock draft. You made that pick, but for whatever reason, I think they want to get better on defense in the secondary. That when I look at them, they lost Malcolm Jenkins, although they did get Jarius Byrd. They can throw the football and they can score, but when you have to, can you stop people? And that's the problem I saw in the playoffs.
Well, they need corners, they need edge rushers, and they need wide receivers. That's the priority right there, and it might be Brandon Cooks.
DJ, did Jerry Jones campaign for the pick? What I was told was they had thoughtful discussion. They talked about all different sides of it, but Jones did not campaign. You know, the Cowboys have a new guy running their draft board this year, Will McClay. They wanted to do it a little bit differently, and the scouts really won this, DJ.
Yeah, we look at the Cowboys and Manziel. I want to talk about the Browns and Johnny Manziel. That decision at number 4, we thought that Johnny Manziel would be in play right there. Now you're looking potentially at pick number 26 for them to get Johnny Manziel. I don't know if anybody saw that happening.
With the 20th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Brandon Cooks, wide receiver, Oregon State.
See, you guys mess with me about all my SAP stuff and my analytics, how they help me right there. I'm smarter right now. He is going to make an impact on that team.
And this guy can run. You remember Antonio Brown? And I said,
we remember him.
And that's exactly who this guy reminds me of. It's almost like giving him a punt in the open field, and he can take it to the house. Antonio Brown does that very well. Pittsburgh used him in the same way.
That's called the freeze, by the way.
Absolutely.
I had this question asked to me 20 times in the last 2 weeks in Philly on radio. And to be honest with you, I got to know Chip Kelly a little bit during the pro day season, saw him everywhere. Chip is an outside-the-box guy. He's an offensive guy. Nick Foles just had a tremendous season. I believe 27 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions. You can't play the position better for a young quarterback. However, I mean, Clinton Dix is still sitting there, and safety is a big need for them. Defense, to me, is a huge need for them. But Chip Kelly's an outside-the-box thinker, and that's the next logical pressure point, followed by Cincinnati, followed by Cleveland. They're the next 3 pressure points for the quarterback. I think they need a safety. Maybe early Marshall for a tight end. Do you see Jay Samaro or Safarian Jenkins?
I'm looking at my board right now, and one of those 2 guys would fit. You lose Jermichael Finley.
And James Jones is gone too.
James
a couple of weapons for Aaron Rodgers.
That's your interior guys right there.
Right.
You have to control the middle of the field if you want your outside guys to be able to win.
Yeah, I'm sure they're discussing those 2 tight ends, and Clinton Dix is a good one too, right there.
With the 21st pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Clinton Dix, defensive back, Alabama.
That pick made a ton of sense. Tackling the run game. In the open field, he misses surprisingly few tackles. As a center fielder, he's a natural. He covers ground. He reads the quarterback's eyes. That's Johnny Football throwing the ball. Look at the break on the ball and the hit. And now, this is him in Alabama going through some of the cone drills. Just for a big guy, I remember standing next to Rob Ryan at this pro day, and Rob Ryan was licking his chops going, wow, look at this guy's hips. Look at how natural his movement skills are.
The Cleveland Browns been all over this map. They went from 4 to 9 up to 8 to make their first selection. And their second selection, which didn't exist until they traded Trent Richardson to Indianapolis last fall at 26, just moved up to 22. Just moved up to 22.
And here's that chant.
And you can hear the chant in the Radio City Music Hall for Johnny.
If it's not a tackle, it has to be Johnny.
Well, who would the tackle be?
Cyrus Kwanjo is the last one in that group still available. I believe it's Johnny Manziel. I think this is it right here.
Boy, the dog pound will be celebrating if it's Johnny Manziel.
Can you imagine this?
They must know something.
It's like that movie Draft Day. Cleveland's moving all over the board.
Yeah, they are.
I'm guessing if they take Cyrus Kwanjo, it'll be a little bit like the first pick they took in the movie.
Hey, let's say this. Johnny would bring to the AFC North a different type of quarterback.
Yeah.
Think about the 3 that's there.
Well, here it comes.
Gotta be it. Gotta be right here,
boy.
Marshall.
Here we go.
The Philadelphia Eagles have traded the 22nd pick to the Cleveland Browns. With the 22nd pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Johnny Manziel, quarterback, Texas A&M.
And there you have it. Johnny Football is coming to the state of Ohio after all. It was a long wait tonight for Johnny Manziel, but he's going to the AFC North.
I give Ray Farmer and Mike Patton a ton of credit. Look at this.
Is this the time the Browns finally get the face of their franchise to lead them to where they so crave, the place where they have been dreaming of going? Is this the young man who grew up from the state of Texas and went to Texas A&M to forge himself an identity that he's now going to place on a Browns franchise in desperate need of one? It has happened, finally.
Hey, Rich, I summed this video up, and I'm going to call it hope. There's hope for the city of Cleveland. And if you take a look at him in the pocket right there, in between a corner and safety, that's as good a throw as you can make. Now, watch him avoid the free rusher. Unblocked defender comes through. He runs through everybody. That's what he brings to the table. Now, I want him to climb the pocket here. It's a clean pocket. Instead, what feels most comfortable to him is open space. That's the problem. The bad tape against LSU, the bad tape against Missouri, but Rich, right there is the hope for the city of Cleveland, and he's going to bring that electrification to the city.
How long, though, Coach, will they be patient in this style, with his style? Johnny Manziel, one concern I had with him going to Cleveland is Cleveland has been a fan base that has been waiting for quite a while.
Oh, yeah.
How patient will they be? Because Johnny's style, Coach, is a little different than the traditional style quarterback.
Yeah, he sure is, because you got let's do a comparison tape. You know, Johnny Manziel, if you're a baby boomer generation like me, this Johnny Manziel kid right here, he's just 5'11". He moves around, he improvises, he's a little unruly, he's got some gunslinging ability, and he's creative, and he's a little bit lucky at times too. You gotta love that. But I remember as a kid, a guy named Fran Tarkenton. Look at the black and white film, Marshall. Fran Tarkenton, he was all over the place too. Look at Deacon Jones, can't tackle him, and he threw the ball down the field like nobody's business. He was under 6 feet tall. But if you're a millennial generation kid like my kids are, you say, well, he's a little bit like Russell Wilson. He's a short guy, he wins. This guy won the Super Bowl, didn't he? And he improvises and he scrambles around, he buys some time, he's got his eyes downfield, and he finds targets all day long.
On his college team, he made people better. That's why you saw other people get picked. Usually in college, when the quarterback's good, he has a lot of talent around him. He made people better. He's going to help make the Cleveland Browns better with the talent that they have.
Every defensive coordinator I talked to said the one quarterback they don't want to play against was Johnny Manziel.
Here's the Chiefs pick, 23rd overall.
With the 23rd pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select D. Ford, defensive end, Auburn.
Played well towards the end of the season, and then he ripped up the Senior Bowl. He's a disruptive guy off the edge. 2 defensive ends. Tom Ali's 31. Justin Houston's going to get paid next year. Watch this kid come off the edge. Gets that inside arm on the Texas A&M tackle, jacks him back. I thought this was his best game against 2 really good tackles. A first-round pick this year and next year. Look at him just run by people in the Senior Bowl. So the downside is he ready to play run game day one?
Meanwhile, it didn't take very long for the Bengals to make their selection. About a minute after D. Ford was selected, they made this choice that's finally getting announced.
With the 24th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Darqueze Dennard.
Good pick.
Defensive back, Michigan State.
Yeah, I don't think they expected him to be available. Paul Guenther, the defensive coordinator for Cincinnati, I think is excited to get him. He fits what Coach Guenther wants to do. He tackles, he's tough.
What do you think the Chargers are going to do here?
I think the corner run is finally coming. San Diego at corner has got nothing right now. I mean, you're starting Steve Williams, a 5th-round pick from a year ago, Sharice Wright. They've got to bolster that. And remember, in that division, they got some people throwing the football in that division. They need to load up. I think Bradley Roby or Verrett, the corner from TCU, one of those 2, I believe, has to be the pick.
Jimmy Haslam got the quarterback he wanted, Johnny Manziel, and from what I understand, DJ, the Browns are now trying to get back into the first round, possibly targeting a receiver. Who are they looking at?
Well, if you're looking at a receiver, Marquise Lee from USC still on the board. That would give him another explosive weapon with Johnny Manziel and Gordon and Cameron, the tight end. I mean, you have a lot of weapons on that offense if they can get a guy like Marquise Lee.
And there's Benjamin is still out there, too, from Florida State with a first-round grade.
With the 25th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the San Diego Chargers select Jason Verrett, defensive back, TCU.
This kid's one of my favorite players in the entire draft. He's only 5'9" and a half, and that's the knock on him.
But he fights.
But he's competitive.
He fights.
He's feisty. He's tough. 190 pounds. Eyes in, pedal, patient. Now watch him break on the route. Remember, this is Beckham he's covering, another first-round pick. Finds the football with good vision, closes the gap, breaks it up. Now, again, LSU, that's a big physical receiver pushing him off. They're the only kind of balls I saw him lose on.
Michael Mayock, your thoughts?
You know, at this point, again, let's keep in mind they let that wide receiver go, Deshaun Jackson, to a division rival in Washington. I think they would love to get a defensive player, but they like their corners. The safeties are gone. There's probably not an edge guy appropriate at this point, although Marcus Smith from Louisville is a second-round guy. Trent Murphy from Stanford is a second or third-round guy. So I think it's got to be one of the two wideouts with first-round value. Either Marquise Lee, the smaller wideout that brings return value, or Kelvin Benjamin, who's 6'5", 240.
With the 26th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Marcus Smith, linebacker, Louisville.
That was the guy I just mentioned as the second-round outside linebacker. Remember, on their defense, now that Eagle fan's not too happy. He never even heard of him. Marcus Smith is 6'3.5", 251. With upside. I question his core strength a little bit on tape. You may argue that it was a little early, but they already traded down from 22. They picked up some extra picks. I applaud the pick because it attacks an area of need for them.
And they needed to address the defense. They have a very good offense in winning that division. They were second in offense, 29th in defense. So Marcus Smith, probably the highest rated player on their board. Let's bolster that defense so we can win this division again.
Would he go quarterback right here, Mike?
I think they feel like they're pretty close. They were 10-6 a year ago and didn't make the playoffs in the toughest division in football. Derek Carr has to be a consideration. Your quarterback's about to turn 35. If it's not Derek Carr, I think it's got to be an offensive lineman, and Cyrus Kwanjo or Xavier Su'a-Filo would be the two most obvious ones there.
Another thing we also have to keep an eye on right now, again, this is pick number 27, and that means there's 5 more after tonight, and the Texans are sitting first on the clock tomorrow. If you want Bridgewater or Carr, now's the time. Now's the time to strike yourself to get back in to the mix. Now, I know you're saying Carr to Houston, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but if you like the guy, it doesn't matter what his lineage is or what his name means in town.
Oh, yes, it does.
All right, you're saying that. Let's hear the Marshall. Let's hear the Cardinals pick.
With the 27th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Dayon Buchanan,
safety,
defensive back, Washington State.
I'll tell you what, impact safety with size. I thought he was best in the box, but he's bigger and faster than Clinton Dix or Calvin Pryor.
And I'm imagining, since it took about 90 seconds for Carolina to make the pick, it's either Lee or Benjamin, whichever wide receiver is the apple of their eye, because Lord, is that part of the depth chart absolutely barren right now. I know they signed Jason Avant, but with Ginn, LaFell, and Smith all gone.
Right, they signed 3 guys, but they got to get a tackle or a wide receiver, and I'd bang the table for one of those 2 wideouts.
Let's hear it.
With the 28th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Kelvin Benjamin.
That's what I thought.
Wide receiver, Florida State.
Listen, and we can talk all we want. We've talked about what we need to give Cam Newton. Cam Newton has had the smaller receiver in Steve Smith, and he's done some wonderful things with Steve Smith. But now you give him a guy where the area code is the where you can throw the football. Anywhere in the area code, this kid can make a play, just like that other guy, Brandon Marshall, does for the Chicago Bears. Love this kid, man. Watched him while we had him at the Combine, Coach, and I said, man, I need to work on his hips. By the time he got to Game Changers, he had been working on his hips.
There's one thing I want you to see here. We've got a graphic that I call one-year wonders. And one of the things that scouts and coaches worry about are wide receivers with only 1 year of college production. Because the question is always why? Why, if a guy was so special, didn't he have that production? And it's a little bit sobering when you take a look at the names on that list. Finally, Anthony Gonzalez, all first and second round picks, 1 year of production, but I think this Benjamin kid's different. I think he's special because of his size.
With the 29th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Dominic Easley, defensive end, Florida.
Dominique Easley is one of the best value picks in this draft. He was a top 30 pick until he tore his ACL. He's quick, he's explosive. A lot of people felt like he was going to end up dropping because of the ACL. But look at him beat the double team, get into the backfield, and make a play.
The next jersey here for San Francisco.
They can go a couple different ways here. There's still a wide receiver on the board, correct? Marquise Lee. There's still a corner on the board, Bradley Roby. They could use a 5 technique, which is a defensive end and a 3-4. Remember, Justin Smith is 35, and Stephon Tuitt from Notre Dame is a real logical guy there also. So I think the board is more open, Mooch, than I thought it would be. We both thought they'd trade up.
And they fall in line, and I think Bradley Roby might be a smart choice right there. From the Ohio State, Rich.
Well, here's the commissioner.
With the 30th pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Jimmy Ward, defensive back, Northern Illinois.
Wow. Jimmy Ward is one of my favorite players, but I didn't see him go into the second or perhaps the third round. Now this guy, he's only 5'10 and a half, 193. So he's a true free safety. The concern is his frame. He's got a slight frame. Durability's an issue.
The Golden Corral best value player, Mike, would be?
I just really enjoy what Cleveland did tonight with all the disruption in the offseason in the front office. Ray Farmer, Mike Pettin come in. They start out at 4. They move down to 9, back up to 8, and they get Justin Gilbert. And then they move from 26 to 22, and they get Johnny Manziel. I give him credit for moving up and down the board.
With the 31st pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Bradley Roby, defensive back, Ohio State.
And that's a good pick. Remember, Chris Harris, their nickel, tore his ACL in January.
That guy Talib right there, that guy's going to take out the main guy. That guy Ward right there, he's going to help that young guy while he learns.
You get your quarterback a weapon. I think you get your quarterback a weapon. You get him somebody. You lost the guy who attacks the football better than anybody.
Minnesota's on the clock.
Well, I'll tell you what they did.
Better yet, you trade the pick. You heard me say that, didn't you? I told you.
They attacked the phones is what they did. Ian?
I told you that's what you do.
Daniel Jeremiah. Is this for a quarterback?
Well, Rich, it certainly does seem like they're looking for a quarterback here. And DJ, one thing we know from what I was told from Vikings coaches, Teddy Bridgewater has the best film they feel of all the coaches. Would not be surprised if they go Bridgewater here, even with Derek Carr still on the board.
Yeah, Teddy Bridgewater is a name you hear with Minnesota, a great fit in Norv Turner's offense, as Michael knows right there on the set.
It almost feels like it has to be a quarterback, though.
Well, certainly since the Texans are picking first tomorrow night, and you'd have to assume they're going to go and get one of the 2 remaining quarterbacks at that spot.
Keep in mind, Norv Turner,
one of the best,
is the coordinator. If Rick Spielman takes a quarterback at the end of the first round, he's effectively admitting that they made a mistake 2 years ago with Ponder. They've got Matt Castle, who they signed. That would be the 3rd quarterback. That's a lot of investment here. I'm trying to look at my board and see if there's somebody else outside of quarterback.
If Rick don't want to admit that Ponder may have been a mistake, I could do it right now.
Seattle got a 40th overall selection, so they'll be picking much earlier than they would have tomorrow night. And a 4th round choice, and that's Mr. Wolf at the bottom of the screen, and the mustache is son to his left.
The Seattle Seahawks have traded the 32nd pick to the Minnesota Vikings. With the 32nd pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Teddy Bridgewater, quarterback, Louisville.
I am so happy for that kid, and he's one of the nicest kids I've met in this draft process in the last 10 years.
There he is in his Minnesota Vikings purple hat. And Irv, what will Norv Turner do with him?
And we talk about when you are in those situations where you drop and you're not happy. But this is a perfect situation for this young kid to land in.
Thank you for making tonight special. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time for rounds 2 and 3. Good night, everybody.